that children raised in supportive, affectionate, and accepting homes are among the less likely to become deviant. On the other hand, children rejected by parents are among the most likely to become delinquent. So empirical evidence shows that many young men and women from broken families tend to indulge themselves in gangs and other criminal activities to satisfy their unmet needs or desires. And a lot of it also boils down to respect. A lot of our young people lack respect. Respect for themselves, respect for others, and respect for life. Young people these days are growing up without respect, but the root, it stems within the household. A study conducted by the Root Causes of Crime, the Breakdown of Marriage, Family, and Community states, open quote, over the past 30 years, the rise in crimes parallels the rise in fathers abandoned by fathers. On the other hand, it had been noticed that communities with strong family bonds and high religious practices are not high crime neighborhoods. Madam Moderator, it is very clear that right here, the change in the household dynamics has led to the increase in murders and other serious crimes. Traditionally, our families were rather extended, which included the mother, the father, the grandfather, the auntie, and uncles, and even the community. And they were also nuclear in structure, the mother and the father and the children. There was a greater love, stronger family support, and the greater bonds between families. However, right now, we have high amounts of single-parent families. Many murderers and other criminals are reeling from the effects of the loss of love, affection, and guidance at the intimate levels of the family. Moreover, when young, innocent children witness violence and fighting within the households, it makes them grow up with that same sort of violent and aggressive behavior, which permeates into our Dominican society. A study conducted by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services states, open quote, children who witness violence between parents are among the most likely to become violent in the future. These children are at greater risk of repeating the cycle as adults by entering into abusive relationships or becoming abusers themselves. Madam Moderator, we need not look far for an example of this. If we ought to look at the gruesome murder which took place at Mont Prosper on New Year's Eve, we would realize that this was a direct result of domestic violence. And according to the villagers, more interestingly enough, it was discovered that the murderer's father was also a domestic abuser. So we're seeing how the dots are starting to connect. So tell me, my worthy opponents, how does this murder and other murders like this have anything to do with foreign influences? Violence is begotten by violence and by neglect, not by foreign influences. Moreover, not only does a dysfunctional household play a part in the rise in murders and other serious crimes, but also, you ready, drug use and abuse. My worthy opponents, I am sure you witnessed the increase in the number of drug users on the island. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime World Report in 2022, many young people are using more drugs, with use levels today in many countries higher than previous generations. Statistics repeatedly bear out the strong association between drug abuse and crime. Addictive drug use often leads to impaired judgment and causes severe and uncharacteristic aggression, especially if it goes untreated, leading users to become violent. AddictionCenter.com states that domestic violence originates from a person that is under the influence of drugs, notably alcohol consumption. And you know what's more interesting? Dominica ranks 4th in the alcohol consumption per capita by the World Health Organization. And I quote, open quote, Research and Information Officer in the National Drug Abuse Prevention Office, Martha Jarvis, has stated that Dominica ranks 4th in the world in terms of alcohol consumption per capita. Make no mistake, alcohol is a devastatingly harmful drug to families. It is responsible for much of the domestic violence in Dominica. Ladies and gentlemen, let us admit it. The many criminals and murderers that we are seeing today came from dysfunctional households and suffered with early trauma and adverse childhood effects, which they just simply cannot unlearn. They came from low socioeconomic backgrounds, and many of them are victims of drug use and abuse. See, we have a tendency of blaming others and looking at ourselves first. We cannot just sit down here blaming others like that. No, no, no. It's time we wake up and recognize the reality of the situation so that we can try to improve and make this country the best that it can be. For this reason, we say that the increase in murders and other serious crimes is not as a result of foreign influences. The influence simply lies within our borders. I thank you.
Thank you, Adonaiah. So for our second speakers, the Casimirs, I don't know if they have any relation, but Kamaili spoke for, I have that with me somewhere. I was very proud of myself, and now I've lost it. Let me find it. Give me a second there. Here it is. Kamaili spoke for 6 minutes and 46 seconds, so she was within her time. And Adonaiah spoke for 7 minutes and 2 seconds, so he was within his time as well. So now it is time for them to plan the rebuttal. And since I have an audience that is not as silent as I'd like it to be, I will stand here for the 5 minutes of silence that the students need so I can watch you, all right? And so I would like to ask Janice to put 5 minutes on the clock for me as the students plan their rebuttal. The only noises in the room are supposed to be within the teams in the front, and so that starts now. All right, it is now time for our 3-minute rebuttals by both sides. Again, our topic is the increase in murders and other serious crimes is as a result of foreign influences. Proposing that topic, Akila Baran and Kamaili Casimir from the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, and opposing the topic from the St. Mary's Academy, Mr. Adrian Piper and Mr. Adranaya Casimir. I will call on the speaker who is rebutting on behalf of the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School. Who is that? It will be Akila Baran. Welcome Akila Baran to the podium once again. Akila, I will give you a cue.
My worthy opponents, I encourage you to be open-minded. We are no longer living in an isolated world, but the agents of mass media, social media, and globalization have made us members of a global community. Consequently, these heinous crimes have made their way from the borders of these fast-paced countries to the quiet shores of Dominica. Members of the audience, my opponents have spoken about the effects of poverty, violent upbringing, and unemployment, amongst others. However, allow me to weed out the fallacies dressed up in my opponent's debate. Dominica belongs to a wider global context where global crises and national crime cripple our society. Our economy does not stand on its own. Rather, war and globalization have impacted us in such a way that resulted in increased crime. My worthy opponents, the weakness in your arguments lies in the foundation of your presentation. You spoke about hopelessness and desperation for fast cash. Have you heard the term symptomatic treatment in the medical field? It refers to therapy that eases the symptoms without addressing the root cause of the disease. This is what your argument has inadequately done, addressing the symptoms whilst temporarily masking the root cause, and in this case, the issue of external forces on the high murder and crime rates experienced in Dominica. So I dare the opposition to stop looking at the surface, for if this issue of rising crimes in Dominica has to be seriously addressed, we must look deeper. Let's go to the root cause of this issue. The values that were once instilled in our homes and communities are absurd by gun violence, drug trafficking, and brutal murders adopted from television programs. Our youth now spend hours and hours playing violent video games and looking at gang violence, robbery, shooting on the television, also partaking in gun violence. Therefore, we take the opportunity to implore parents and our leaders, let us revert to the culture where a community raised a child and prohibits the source of the mass media from influencing our children to be raised as criminals. As I close, members of the audience, here is something to reflect on. No island in the truest sense of the word is an island, even though we are surrounded by water. Rather, just like the external forces severely influencing our development, foreign influences infiltrate our society and are the root cause of the increase in murders and serious crimes we are witnessing today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Barron. Our opposing team is the St. Mary's Academy, who will be the speaker for St. Mary's for the rebuttal. Adrian. Mr. Adrian Piper will do the rebuttal. Adrian, you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon once again. I now rise to present the rebuttal against the points put in favor that the increase in murder and other serious crimes is as a result of foreign influences. First of all, I would just like to say that our opponents have agreed with us. The increase in murders and other serious crimes is not as a result of foreign influences. Instead, it is as a result of a lack of family values and morals. This is the true cause for the increase in crime. A solid foundation is very difficult to destroy. Teaching has to start in the home, otherwise you will not create morally upstanding and law-abiding citizens. In addition, there are lots of media that condemn criminal and violent acts. These include the social media and news sources that our opponents have cited. Why do we want to look only at the negative influences? We can look at the positive. A strong support system would deter any bad influence, whether it be foreign or local. In addition to this, our opponents have stated that due to Dominica's position geographically, we are located next to drug-infested countries. However, I would like to ask, is it only foreigners that do these things? Is it not locals that instigate and encourage these behaviors? They cited the Woodbridge Bay port incident where barrels of guns and drugs were found. But was it only foreigners that have done these things? No, it was most likely locals who have brought these things in, and this is most often the case. Finally, we have proven that majority of criminals behind bars do come from poor socioeconomic backgrounds. So I would like to ask, what access would these criminals have to things such as social media, the TikTok that our opponents have cited, and other forms of foreign media? Madam Moderator, judges, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, it is clear that the increase in murder and other serious crimes is not as a result of foreign influences. Instead, it is as a result of the individual's socio-economic status, domestic situation, substance abuse, and many other local factors. Thank you.
In this entire competition. All right, so now it is time for our judges to leave. Our chief judge is Ms. Jaya Pendeng, and she's being assisted by Mrs. Andra Christian and Mrs. Shari Pascal Maroney. And we're going to ask Bijou to escort them to their place where they'll be speaking. Judges, you have about 15 minutes or so, I'm told, for deliberations. All right. So now that the judges have gone, the students can go to meet their groups while the rest of us will have a discussion. So the students, if you just go to your areas in the auditorium. All right. So just to inform, we're still in the debate. The debate is not finished. We're still in the debate. The debate is not finished. It's not social time. All right. So the sponsors, I'd like to just repeat who the sponsors have been. New India Assurance, AC Shillingford and Company Limited, primarily for Promex Milk, Domlec, Lindomat, Fine Foods Inc. KFC, sponsoring the Coach Appreciation Prize, which is a tremendous addition, I must say, because coaches go unappreciated. So I'm very grateful that this year we're recognizing the coaches. And so the prize this afternoon will be given to the coach of the team that is not continuing in the competition. Q95 FM Radio, UWI Open Campus, Insurance Company of the West Indies, Public Service Union, Body Bliss Spa, National Bank of Dominica, Flow Dominica, Dowasco, Freeman Consultant Inc. LLC, who is sponsoring the Runners-Up Prize for this afternoon, Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, Dominica News Online, Digicel, Vibian TV, Western Illinois University, Val Ferry, Springfield Trading Limited, National Cooperative Credit Union, and Lovely Things. The partners for the Inter-Secondary Schools Debate Competition are the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, and National Excellence, the Dominica State College's Literary and Debates in Society, Organize Me, and Exquisite Events Rentals. All right. So we had quite a bit from our presenters this afternoon. If I can find my page. On the proposing team, Isaiah Thomas Secondary School spoke about the undesirable influence of mass and social media, how that has reshaped Dominican society. They also spoke about the global economic factors that are associated with the increase in crime. They focused on close proximity to drug-infested countries, and so Dominica is right in the middle of drug-infested countries. Also easy access to weapons from foreign influences and the global corruption that affects local politics, right? All in an effort to show those foreign influences in terms of crime. And St. Mary's Academy looked at socioeconomic status and quoted the poverty rate in Dominica as 43%. The second point was that there are communities in Dominica that are more susceptible to violence. Also, St. Mary's spoke about the low level of education and high school dropout rates as an influence on crime. They also spoke about the household, that the household has tremendous influence on deviance among young people. And fifthly, that drug use leads to impaired judgments and rise in crime. Yeah? So these were the points that we had on the table this afternoon. And if I do say so myself, we're not allowed to talk about the speakers, we can only talk about the points. If I do say so myself, I think that those points from both sides were very solid and very well supported. I'm not a judge, so I can say whatever I want. Were very solid and very well supported. And so I just have a few questions that I'd like to ask the audience. You could just stand where you are and participate, and that would be great. So if we're looking at the proposing points concerning the influence of foreigners and foreign countries, and Akila tells us that there are undesirable influences in terms of mass media and social media. What do we think about that? Particularly for somebody who's my age and older, who lived at a time before there was social media. And now, what do we think? Do we think that social and mass media has had a significant influence negatively on our Caribbean and Dominican societies? Do we? Listen, they're going to be judging for 15 minutes. You have me for 15 minutes. You might as well participate in the discussion. Yes, Ms. Philogene.
I say yes. Even in terms of visibility, right now it doesn't really matter what happens. Everybody wants to have it and wants to show it.
Yes.
I was looking, for instance, at a news piece some time ago where a body was discovered in a suitcase. Some TikTok, and everybody was making a TikTok of this body that they had seen and not taking into consideration that's someone's child.
It's a family
so
member.
there's the loss of the human aspect of it. We've lost our humanity, and it's not about someone else. It's about visibility and having followers and all that kind of stuff. And so I think that also has impacted what is happening there. We've lost touch with ourselves, our human nature.
I agree with you. I really do. Anybody else? How has do you think that mass media and social media has reshaped Dominican society, or is it the same way as it's always been? It was like that in 1980, and it's still like that in 2023. Since the older people are not answering, the children would like to. Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I do agree that the outside influences has had an impact on the violence in Dominica. Why? Because they have had some very strong points about how, that many people do partake in these activities, but many of the violences happening in Dominica has been gun-related or murder or any type of these, in these categories. Dominica do not produce any form of guns.
Very few countries in the world do.
Exactly.
Yes.
So
there are specific countries in the world that are allowed to produce weapons.
What I'm trying to imply is that even though they do want to partake in these activities, only the guns and other weapons from other countries brought into Dominica are used to do these crimes. You know what I mean? They were speaking about televisions and seeing their parents argue and they learn from it. There are a lot of artists around the world, in the United States, in the Caribbean, that create a lot of violence in songs. You have some well-known artists, for example, SMA Youngboy, that you may see a lot of young boys these days taking part in or listening to, which has a lot of violence and a lot of gun-related activities. And even in the videos, the music videos, you'll see that there are a lot of, they may be fake guns, but they imply to the younger kids that you can use a gun to protect yourself even if that it is wrong or right.
Right.
So even if that they're implying that, you know, yes.
Oh no, but I don't allow people to back up on the other side, no. I direct the questions I'm using, you know. So, okay, you're not a debater, you know. Debate's over. It's okay. All right, okay.
I do fully agree with the proposing side that the outside influences do have an impact on the people who come in.
But since you went there, you have to see that the points raised by the opposition are very true as well.
Yes.
Although that's not where I'm going right now, but you have to understand that they are good statistics for what they're talking about as well. But that's not where I'm going. And I'm going to take my reins back because we don't go there. All right, but thank you. All right, anything else in terms of mass and social media? This is what I'm talking about now as the moderator. Yes, miss?
Yes, just to add on the mass media, social media,
Mhm.
in terms of the quality of what is being produced
Oh, yeah.
now, for example, I was shocked. I started to look at that Netflix program, How to Get Away with Murder. I'm into things like law and so on.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I'm looking at it, How to Get Away with Murder. But then, as the season progresses, I am really seeing that this is teaching me how to get away with murder. I had to cancel it out. I said, this is too negative. Then there are drama.
What's over? We come to you and yeah.
What is produced, the quality, it is encouraging because we humans, it's all about mind and psychology for us. When we take these things in, it is what we are going to put out eventually. Yeah.
All right. Okay. You wanted to say something? I'm sorry. I'm saying you because I don't know your name. But go ahead.
Okay, well, in terms of media and stuff, I mean, obviously, in this day and age, media is everywhere. I mean, everyone has some exposure to the internet. And honestly, I feel like to some extent, I mean, of course, we can say, yes, it is an influence, but for us to 100% blame it or to say, well, social media is the main reason why, I feel like that's really unfair. Because, take for example, I love shows like Also Get Away with Murder, but I am not killing people. Like, there are many people out there who watch these things, who are exposed to these things every day, and they aren't partaking in violent action. So, if you really have to think about it, is it really the shows that are the problems or the people watching the shows? Because some people are more susceptible than others to certain things. So for us to say, well, this show is the main reason and we should most definitely just do away with it because people are using it is unfair. I feel like it's more the tendencies are there and these people are using these media outlets as an excuse to carry out what they really want to do with the situation.
Miss? Good point, though.
Thank you. That's actually where I was going with my discussion because, I mean, people with maybe inclinations towards those things will most likely watch it for these reasons and maybe use it for whatever reason or another. I personally don't see myself watching How to Get Away with Murder because I don't want to know for me to even do it. So I think so basically it's up to the individual. Somebody with strong morals, somebody with strong values, they are not going to exhibit such behavior because of what they stand for. And so while mass media is everywhere, there are positive things and there are also negative things. What you choose to absorb, what you choose to do, what you choose to reflect is up to personal choice and not really because it's there, I must do it. So all your, I mean, even if everybody around is, they're all doing something, if everybody around is doing something, that doesn't mean that you have to resort to personal choice at the end of the day. So while it is there, it cannot be determined that is the reason.
I'll take one more comment and then we'll move on to the next thing, yeah?
Alright, to say something that kind of agrees and disagrees with everything, I would say social media and its influence is more neutral and it's more positive because initially when it first relaunched for everyone's kind of understood, you might see bad things and you might think they influence them to do something bad. But as Timon SMA said, your family and people around you is what really drives your morals. So in reality, social media doesn't have enough power to really make someone do something, and there's something behind it that allows them to really have that type of idea to do something. Especially things like shows like Jeffrey Dahmer and Foster Coming Murder. Those type of things, I wouldn't say influence people, but they actually bring awareness or show light into these topics that will make people aware of how it's done and how they can actually avoid it. And also like things like Jeffrey Dahmer, it's a story about a serial killer. I wouldn't say it glorifies the actor. It wouldn't glorify the killer, but it shows people like the dark side of things that really happen. And it gives people awareness of the real world and how they can protect themselves and awareness of really self-protection for themselves and other people.
Yes.
Okay. My second point here brings the two schools together really. Because we have a point from Isaiah Thomas that global economic factors are associated with increased crime peaks. And they spoke specifically about the war, particularly Ukraine-Russia war, and its influences on poverty and so on. But what was interesting for me was that St. Mary's spoke about socioeconomic status, increasing poverty rates and so on. So that was, I thought, was a point that was very similar for the two teams. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit and just how we think that the economic factors are affecting crime. St. Mary's had, I can't remember, 43%, I find that high. We're the third poorest. Wow. Wow. Right? So I find that high. You know, but I want to talk about that a little bit because both teams did talk about that economic factor and how it is associated with crime and crime peaks. Yeah? And if things are that bad now, and I'm not an economist, but I go to the shop. I go to the shop. So I want, what do you think about those economic and socioeconomic factors? I want your opinion about that, and how you think that is related to crime rate. Anyone?
I personally feel that was their strongest point because in terms of the economy and so on, we are really effects of what is happening outside the economy.
Yeah.
So I felt that was a very strong point, and if I was the data, I would have really such that it could. So like for the rebuttal, that's how I just would want to.
Anyone else? Anyone else on the economic? Dr. Casimir, you're a socioeconomic person. Your work is in all your work. Your graduate work and your doctoral work was in socioeconomic status. Can you verify or nullify the idea that the economic factors and socioeconomic factors have influence on crime?
Well, no, socioeconomic factors, that is one of the reasons or aspects of each crime. The sociological cultural crime. So people within a certain area, they are more likely to take part in criminal activity. What is it worse? We generally, because they are from that community, they really say no and people there are associated with crimes. So there's a self-fulfilling prophecy already. So all of these things there, the socioeconomic status where one is raised, actually influence their actions. What is the worst? I mean, some people draw in the influence of overseas. While socioeconomic factors is one thing, but you can't take away the factor of cultural imperialism and memory. A lot of things that are happening now, years back then, we never saw those things. what has happened also, a lot of people who in America are reporting, when they return to the Caribbean, we see different things. I can speak for polio, for example. In the 90s when I was in high school. From high school, basketball and sports. By 2000, when I came back from studying, it was a different body. We had situations where when I came back, what I saw was they moved on from sports and it was gambling, drugs, all these things. So a lot has changed. So overseas influences have impacted, but quite often the socio-economic factors are one of the major reasons why people will impact.
No, what is your opinion too? Because you are you're a follower of the Russian Ukraine war. How do you think that is impacting on crime?
Well, two things. From the research I've seen, the biggest crime wave in America is in 70s, just after Maria. So you see the correlation right there. When people have a very difficult to survive, quite often the next source of action is survival, then you have families. The war in Ukraine has affected the economies of the Caribbean region, particularly for those countries like ours. Gas prices that we have seen have increased significantly. Basic commodities have tripled. So all of those things actually influence.
18 homicides.
Exactly.
Another thing, Sharon, Ms. Floder, you want to say something before we move on?
You also have the issue of, so you've got the economic situation, and you have a lot of individuals who are struggling, and so they move to drugs and alcohol. In our society, the consumption of alcohol peaks. Yeah, you saw it going up after Maria, and it keeps going up because people are frustrated and they have to find a way to deal with the frustration. So you have the increase in the consumption of alcohol. Also, you have a lot of young people now who are unemployed. Some of them maybe want employment and they can't get, but some of them, there's a free-for-all now with marijuana, the use of marijuana. I mean, most days I'm coming to work, most young people going down the road, whether they're going to work or they're going to school, they're smoking marijuana. The bus drivers are at the bus stop smoking. You have this increase, and then you have issues in society. You've got a skewed psychological situation, and so people cannot think in order to resolve problems. So what do? They can't resolve the conflict, and so they resort to the next thing. You have the crime.
Just to piggyback on something she said about the use of alcohol, I think we have really discredited the point about social media. Over the media, now we see the use of alcohol. Everybody's drinking and partying. And remember, we are trying to imitate the West and the Americas. They have influenced our culture so much. Before, when you look at mapping Carnival, 1991, you see people enjoying themselves, not one bottle in their hand. These carnivals, they were good and they were violence-free. But now, we want to imitate America. It goes back to the alcohol and the drinking. All Jay-Z and them drinking all the expensive drinks. This is what we want to imitate. Our young people are drinking to look as if they're living their life, and it comes down to our crimes.
Can I say something? Because alcohol has always been a part of our society, and a lot of alcohol. But when we were growing up, there were a lot of children who were sent to buy alcohol, but wouldn't touch alcohol. Some of them would taste, but many would not touch because of how they were being brought up. You know, you would try little thing like when they sell you for saltfish too. But apart from that, even before social media, look at advertisements and look at sponsorship of events. You would find that more companies would sponsor activities with alcohol on our island as opposed to sponsoring sports events. That was long before social media. I was in a athletic association long before social media. Somewhere in 2008, right before there, yes, 2004, 5, 6, where we didn't have all of this TikTok and all of that kind of stuff. And alcohol consumption, I remember coming back here in 2008, and my boys, I got back to SMA, and my boys would meet me by the way church and ask me boys who had just left school, to buy them a drink. That was before all of the social media. So yes, we have this, but it existed before. We cannot pretend that the alcohol was not there. It has been part and parcel of our society for years.
All right, I want to move on to another point. Thank you, Ms. William. That I thought was close for the both schools. And that is the discussion of, on the proponent side, the close proximity to drug-infested countries. And we have the Guada experience there.
Yeah.
And then, so single Guada there. And then St. Mary's was saying that there are communities, specific communities in Dominica that are more susceptible to crime. And of course we have the names of Tarshpit and Gota and Popoli and Yambis and these places that we all know are more susceptible to crime. So I thought that that was very interesting as well. On both sides, I saw that as a similarity in that regard. There is this Guada experience, right, for us in this country. And I do note in my own mind that a lot of the people who are from the communities that were named by St. Mary's have those very close connections with those particular societies. You know, I once asked someone, what is that coming back? I once asked someone, where do you, somebody from one of those communities, I said, where do you summer? You know, because in Dominica you summer somewhere, you don't summer in Roseville, you summer in Tarishpina, you summer in Vegas, in wherever. And I was surprised by her response. But we don't have anybody outside of where we're from, you know. Where did you summer? I summer in Guada. I was so surprised that me and this person were the same age, and when I would go to La Plaine for summer, every summer she went to Guada, right? And so I thought that was very interesting. But the judges have returned, so we're going to, I want to thank all of you in the audience for a very lovely and lively discussion while we're waiting for the deliberation of our judges. So thank you very much for that. Our chief judge is Ms. Jaya Pending. So I'm going to allow her to give the judges' assessment of this afternoon's debates. Remember, our topic is the increasing murders and other serious crimes is as a result of foreign influences. And we had Isaiah Thomas Secondary School proposing and St. Mary's opposing. So I invite Ms. Pending to tell us what the judges thought about this afternoon's debates. After that, she will hand me the results so I can announce. And after that, we will give some prizes and I will dismiss you from my presence. Ms. Pending.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, you know I enjoy attending, but every time I introduce myself, I enjoy attending. I'm very happy to see everybody here. The judges and myself, we were very, very, very impressed with what happened today. We had some very solid presentations. I think that's the specific word that was used. Solid presentations from both sides. You gave us a lot of work to do. Trust me, a lot of work to do. But it was very, very good presentations. We noted that there was a great command of material. You all came and you knew, you practiced, you could see that you practiced, you knew exactly what you were saying, you knew, yes, you were on the You knew exactly what you were saying, you knew why you were saying it, you came and you presented, you could see evidence that there was a lot of practice that was put into this. Also, we recognize that you did your research. There was a lot of show that there was research done, that you spoke to people, that you went online, and we saw there were some very good sources as well. I loved the personality that I saw on both sides. And when I debate, I like personality. I like to see, you developing your style, and you say, I like that everybody has their own style, and you develop that style. So we saw a lot of personality on both sides, and an effort to take the material in and bring it out in a way that says, this is me and this is who I am, while I'm representing, the ideas, well, not the ideas of somebody else, but the information from somebody else. I love the relatability of the speeches, as in there were a lot of references that we could, we could point out and say, yes, it's happening in Dominica, yes, it's happening in Miami, yes, it was, some of them were really funny, it was nice. And I just want to encourage you all to develop your style. And I see that we have a lot of different styles today, and I love seeing that even so young, you can develop your style and you can say, okay, this is me. And some people are more relaxed, some people are more, into the crowd, some people are more strong and say, yes, I came with this and you're hearing it today. And of course, with every good thing, we have a few issues, just things to work on, things to remember when you are debating. First off, grammar. We have to always ensure that we are grammatically correct, subject and verb agree. We know the grammar issues, so just fixing there. One or two little, grammar issues in the debates are given, and so we like to encourage you when you go forward, ensure that you have proper grammar in your debates. And diction, when you say diction, I mean the pronunciation of words. Ensure that you pronounce your words and do not speak too quickly. When you speak very quickly, it means you roll over words, and there are some words that people cannot understand. I may understand it because I am Dominican, and this is just how we speak. So I know what you're saying. But imagine you go to university and you're debating to people from Armenia and America and people with different accents, and you have to ensure that you are very clear and you don't rush it, so people can understand what you're saying. And also, if you make a mistake, do not panic, because when you panic, mistakes, I can tell you, mistakes lead to more mistakes when you panic. So don't panic, you just keep going, brush it off and say, let's continue. Forget it. Everybody makes mistakes, so don't get yourself all riled up because you made a mistake, just continue. Also, your references. While there were some really good references, there was some where we couldn't understand, okay, who is this person? Why should I listen to this person? Or you make a reference where I don't know if it's a book, I don't know if it's a magazine, I don't know if it's just an online blog, I don't understand where this is from, who is writing it, and why I should listen to that person, or that person, who is this person listening to? So we had some references that really needed a lot more meat for me to understand why you're making that reference, where it is from. So remember that. Where is your reference from? Who is this person? Why should I listen to that person? And also, related to the posture, I saw a lot of good posture today, yes, and a lot of speaking to the audience, but when you are debating, try your best to not lean in on the podium, or ensure that your material, if you have a good command of your material, then you shouldn't just be, all up in your papers, you understand. So ensure that you have a good posture, and yes, when you see the time is coming up, don't rush. Don't, the time is coming up, yes, but there are nice ways to just skip to, your conclusions, skip to this part where okay, I need to say that. So even if your time, although I already saw today that even though the time is coming up, people did not just panic and fly up. We see that a lot, where they see 1 minute left, or they see time up, and it's just a panic. So I love that you didn't panic too much. So that is it, but all in all, you guys did a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful job. Round of applause. Everybody who's organizing this, everybody who's involved, and thank you so much, supporters, for coming out. I like seeing the faces that you're not a teacher, you're not a part of a member of the school, but you're here to say hi, students. We appreciate your hard work and we appreciate you. So thank you so much, supporters. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Superintendent, and your team of esteemed judges. That's what children always say, esteemed judges. So, Shari and Mrs. Christian, thank you so much for assisting me spending this afternoon. To recognize you, I would like to call Ms. Tari Ansel to assist me with giving the judges their thank you gifts before we move on into the announcement of the winners. So we do it from the center right where you are there. Can somebody else come and help me? So to Mrs. Andrew Christian, thank you very much. To Mrs. Pascal Maroney, thank you. And for Chief Judge, Ms. Jonathan. All right, now for the moment that you are waiting for, and it's called our proposing our topic that the increase in murders and other serious crimes is as a result of foreign influence is the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, led by Akila Baron and supported by Kamali Casimir, and they have a total of 624 points. Opposing our topic is Mr. Adrian Piper, assisted by Mr. Ajimaya Kazimi of the St. Mary's Academy, and they have a total of 672 points. We, in fact, the St. Mary's Academy are our winning school. I should call Ms. Akila Baron, who is the first speaker for Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, to receive a trophy. Akila was supported by Kamali Kazimi. Kamali, there is a prize for the coach for the team of the Isaiah Thomas Secondary School, and that is sponsored by Fine Foods Inc., KFC, and that is for the coach, who is Kellyanne Stead. For the winning team, Mr. Adrian Piper is the first speaker and also the best speaker. And Mr. Piper was supported this afternoon by Mr. Adenaya Casimir. I believe there is a prize for me. So I'm glad you accept that before I conclude for us this afternoon. So I'll do the smile and wave. Thank you very much. Just hold on to your phone, please. Thank you. All right. It was an absolute pleasure being here this afternoon. Like I said, this was a very, very well-researched debate. Thank you, Lord. We just want to thank you. We just want to thank you. We just want to thank you, Lord. Father, we praise and thank you for answering our prayers, for our successful proceeding for this afternoon. Father,